Greetings, everyone.
Hey, Ronnie.
How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Bruce, you
Hi.
always. Hey, Umbrielle. Umbrielle's not playing this year. Boy, she's the first one on here.
You contestant or
yeah,
Yes.
Umbrielle, yeah, they did amazing. They were in our top 5 group that made it up to New York last year.
oh, nice.
Yeah. Bruce, you always outdress me, man.
I just dressed up for this, Nick. Trust me, I don't wear this every day. So yeah.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, you kind of align in the tech industry, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You guys are super casual.
What's that?
So you guys typically are super casual.
Sort of and sort of not. Depends on how to say this correctly, the level that you're at. So yeah. So
Yeah. Gotcha. What's going on with the banks, Bruce? Does that make you nervous?
no, not at all. This whole thing was ridiculous.
With the Silicon Valley
It was
Bank?
all timing. Yeah. In fact,
And there was another bank too, though, right?
oh, there's several. Signature, SVB, and then overseas there was Deutsche Bank, and yeah. Anyhow, I'm buying, just so you know. So
You what
not
now?
this investment call, but yeah, I'm buying. So
You said you're buying?
yeah, I'm buying. Yeah, the banks for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then what about all this and this stuff, this chatter, with all these nation building and China and Russia and coming up with new currency. Is that going to affect the dollar here?
Oh yeah, that to me is the scarier thing for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially for tech, and not that's the topic of this call, but there's a big impact on technology given what's going on. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Good. So who do we have
Yeah.
joining us here so far?
We're right at 7 now, and let's see, we got a couple of people, so they're jumping on. We'll give them a few minutes to
No problem. Hey
jump
guys, I
in.
would ask you all that are participating, when you can, have your cameras on, because I'm going to have some survey question, hand raising, whatever. And if you can't, I understand. If you're, it's weird timing and whatever for some people, but love to have you guys. It's going to be very interactive, hopefully. So yeah.
Well, a lot of them on spring break, so some of them might be at the beach.
Yeah,
might have the beach in the background.
Understand. By the way, I don't mind looking at the beach. It'll make me jealous. So yeah. All good.
Let's see. I'm trying to see some of the names I don't recognize. Mike Lovett, Mikey's Lovett. Are you from Atlanta?
I have to apologize. I'm going to hold up my magnifying glass so I can see some of your names. So, Lincia, is that how you say it, Williams?
Yeah, Lanisha.
Lanisha.
Yes, Lanisha.
Oh, sorry for mispronouncing. So
That's okay.
where are you from?
Okay.
Originally from Connecticut, but I'm
Okay.
down in Atlanta now. I'm one of the CTE teachers that's supporting the team.
Oh, great.
Bruce,
Awesome.
I'll go around and have everybody introduce themselves and everything. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just kind of getting them, like some of the names of the people that I don't recognize. Who's the Mikey's Lovett?
He's still on mute. So.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. If I can ask to unmute. I always like to know who's all on here. And then there's another one recognized, Niall. Jay.
Good evening.
Hey, Niall, how are you? Where are you from and what school you represent?
I am from JH&J. I'm from Ramona High School in California.
Okay, okay. So are you with let's see, Silmar Biotech?
That
Hi,
doesn't
Ronnie. It's
sound
Adriana.
familiar.
Excuse me?
Or you got cut off.
Sorry, I'm not in a very professional setup. I'm on vacation, as you mentioned earlier. So
Okay, so are you a student or a admin person?
I am a student.
Okay, okay, great. So what we'll do real quick, if you guys can just introduce yourselves and then I'll introduce our illustrious guests in a moment, Mr. Bruce Harbour. But if you guys can just introduce yourselves and say your team name and your school name, that would be great.
My name is Embrielle Brooks. I go to South Atlanta High School. I am a senior, and our team name is called Save Us.
I'm sorry,
Great.
I don't know all the team names. And what state or city are you from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, great.
Okay, hi. My name's Adriana Ochoa, and this is.
I'm Paulina Rosales. Hi.
And then that is Alejandro. We're all here
Team
together.
meeting. Yeah.
We're from Silver Biotech Health and Engineering Magnet. We're located here in LA.
Awesome, awesome.
Hello, my name is Catherine Fuentes. I am also from Silmar Biotech.
Awesome.
Thought your name looked familiar.
I am Niall Jacobson Hearn. I'm from San Diego, California, and I'm representing JH&J.
Oh, okay.
Great.
What high school is that?
Ramona High,
Ramona,
little
yeah, you did-
countryside
yeah.
town.
Yeah, you did say that. Are you working with, my understanding, not Hicks, but Dave, what was Dave's last name? He was, been working with us for a number of years. My understanding, he went back to industry. Who's your advisor?
The person who referred me to the program was Christine Hill, but
Gotcha.
I think I do know a Dave who's acting as a mentor for some of our
Yeah.
students in the program.
Yeah, Dave's amazing. Yeah, he's been involved with us for about 8 years. So anyway, so we're gonna jump right in today. We have an amazing speaker. His name is Bruce Harbour. He's worked with the Nick Cannon team for a number of years. Worked with Nick when, oh, Yolette, how you doing?
I am well. How you doing?
Yolette is a teacher in Dade County, Miami-Dade County. Great. Well, I was just
Yes.
introducing our industry speaker today.
Okay.
And I'll let Bruce tell you about himself, but Bruce Harbour is worked with us for a number of years. I think, God, this might have been his third or fourth year actually participating in the workshops. And he's gonna come on today and tell us a little bit about market research and the value and the importance of knowing your market. And Bruce, I'll let you get it going.
Thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, thanks. Hey, so I'm very proud to meet all of you, and I know there's many more, but I know this is kind of short notice and whatever. But actually, Ronnie, we've been involved together in doing this since 2017. I just going through my email.
It's been longer than 4, but I know, but we didn't really kind of really get the workshop.
Yeah. No, I'm
later.
just teasing you. So anyhow, hey, look, very proud to meet you. Quick background on me. I'll give you the short version. I basically worked at Motorola and ran the accessory group there and then some phone groups. But if you guys, anybody ever see Everything Everywhere All at Once? Has anybody seen that movie?
No.
Okay. Anyhow, when you watch it, look at the thing that they use for transporting. It's my Bluetooth headset, my team's Bluetooth headset. So we took over Bluetooth. I mean, basically, before Bluetooth was popular, we created the marketing around Bluetooth, not Bluetooth itself. It was actually invented by a European company. So I can talk a lot about how you market something that, you know, had already been invented, but, you know, we made it like we were the number one market shareholder. Then I went on and ran a company, a very small Danish company at the time, in professional esports. So if anybody plays video games, especially at a professional level, I took over a company called Steel Series, and we grew it, and you know it did very well, and we did that. Then I worked also on the retail side for a little while at Radio Shack, and did a few other things in my life. But I'm very excited to be part of this. I'm excited about always talking to people starting new companies and hearing what they're up to and being involved in this. So thanks, Ronnie, for letting me be part of this. Tonight's topic is market research. So first question I would have is for those who are advisors or teams, how many of you already started doing market research? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, one team I see. Anybody else? Yeah, I saw, thank you. I saw it. Yep, okay, two. Okay, so here's the question. First of all, does everybody understand what market research is? Like the definition of it? Should I go through it, or is it a waste? I want to make this valuable to you guys. So
I kind of understand it a little bit. I'm not sure if I know like the formal definition of it, but I kind of got an idea of what it is.
Great. Can you give me your, because by the way, there's no one right answer. So your general definition of it, or?
I feel like market research is, you analyzing your competitive market, or you figuring out who you're targeting to and who is your overall target audience.
Awesome. Awesome. And the only thing I would add to what you said is what are their needs and preferences, right? So totally agree. And that's kind of implied in your response, but that is what market research is, right? So I'm going to start off with that topic. We have two others, IP and partnerships. I'm happy to also talk about both of those, although IP is the one I can probably help most on, and then Ronnie can help also on partnerships. I have some ideas, but I may run out of time. So first of all, market research is super important. Does anybody here think market research gives you the answer?
Essentially.
Nope. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Please go ahead.
I said in a way, yes.
Good. What do you mean by that, please?
I feel as if you know your audience, if you don't know your audience, you can't answer any of the questions that you have about overall organization or business. So you have to know your target audience or who you're catering to. Very
good. That's excellent answer. And also based on what you said before too, you have to know who your competition is, like, right? I mean, if you're launching a product into a market and somebody's done that, or you're behind the whole flywheel, right, of what people are expecting, that's another. So you're totally right. So I think that's very important. As we talk about market research, it's, understand the needs of your, it's an action or activity. This is the Webster definition. Understand the actions, using an action or activity to understand the actions or preferences of your, core of your customer, right? So I think what's really important, especially at the stage you guys are at, is there's a couple of questions you can answer around market research, right? One, and this is kind of a tangent one, but what's the size of your market? What's the opportunity, right? If I'm Nick or I'm Damon or one of these guys, I kind of want to know in advance, how big is the market opportunity, right? Yeah. So number two, the second question I would ask is, why is your product valuable to that market, right? Like, how do you compare, just like the previous person answered, why is that, important to the consumer? Like, how do you meet an unmet need? How do you do something that they prefer versus what happened? We can all think of many, examples in history of products that could have been a bad idea. Like, I'm going to invent a new horseshoe that allow horses to walk a lot further on roads as automobiles are just coming out, right? Not a great business proposition. It sounded good while it was still mostly horses, but a bad idea given where things were going, right? So it's not only answering what it is to now, and this is where I think the answer given, it can't answer the question, right? Trends change, things change. So what you're just trying to give is some validity that you understand the market, what it is today, hopefully where it's going, if you have some insights to that, but at a minimum, where it is today, where it's going, and the risks or opportunities relative to your business idea, right? So whatever you're pitching, whether it's software or hardware, by the way, how many people are doing hardware and doing software? I'm curious. So hardware first, how many are doing a physical product versus a software product? So hands, good. Physical product, great. That's my background, so thank you. Anybody doing software? Because it's different.
Yeah, I think we have 2 teams this year that's actually doing nonprofits. The team from Atlanta, and I believe the team from Miami as well. They didn't get a chance to introduce themselves, but if would you like for them to do that now, Bruce?
Yeah, please.
The 2 teams.
Real quick.
Yeah, real quick. If you guys can tell us a little bit about Yolette, your team's business, and then Lanisha, your team could tell us real quick, what the scope of your business is.
Okay, Cynthia, you're on. Can you tell it? Cynthia or Marquise? Okay.
Basically, our company is a nonprofit that talks about world hunger, and it's a nonprofit that we gather seeds from multiple places, and we get a group of students or communities from we get different communities to have a garden, and then once the plants are done growing, we give them out.
Great. Awesome. Yeah.
And Umbriella?
Also, we have other benefits of like spreading knowledge to schools and things like that. So if they like to grow stronger connections and to get more awareness out, so we'll have like programs where we'll have sessions to give out knowledge on how these different vegetables or fruits or plants grow and how they can grow them at home.
Got it. Okay, great. Excellent. So exciting ideas across the board. So the next thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ronnie?
I just wanted Atlanta to kind of share their nonprofit. Real quick, since it was 2 nonprofits there.
We went through 2, I thought, right?
Umbriella?
I'm sorry, my phone wasn't letting me come off mute. Hold on, wait, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. My phone is froze. I can't, it's not letting me.
We can hear you
fine.
perfectly.
Yeah, we can hear you and see you perfectly.
So basically, the name of our nonprofit organization is called Save Us, and basically we seek out to empower youth from underserved communities who live in marginalized communities to learn about the real world, the work, build connections, and denormalize things that are normalized in the real world that shouldn't be normalized.
Okay, great.
Gotcha.
Very
Okay,
good.
Bruce. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there because
No.
yeah, from the term of market research, I think it's important, even if you're in a for-profit company or a nonprofit. I mean, it's still vital that you have a good understanding of your market. Your market might be the people that you're going to serve, but market research is, to me, that's why I always like it to be one of the very first workshops, because I think it is one of the most important aspects of starting a business.
No, and everything's important. And again, given the competition, it's great that you have that variety. Ronnie, as you know, we did the thing with Boys and Girls Club Chicago. So look, there's a lot of nonprofits trying to help people, get off on the right foot and whatever. And so, yeah, we were very happy to have Ronnie and Nick come to Chicago and do the Boys and Girls Club competition a couple of years ago. So it was great. So, yeah, so I want to go to the next question. Anybody have that has started doing market research or has ideas of how they're going to do their market research? What are you guys going to do? Are you going to do email surveys? Are you going to do interviews? When you think about doing market research, there's two aspects, right? There's primary and secondary. So primary is you're out talking to people or you're sending an email out, you're consolidating. And secondary is doing, using Google and other research tools, AI, et cetera, to figure out, what other people are saying. So just curious, have any of the teams started doing that part? Or if not, do they have questions on it? Because this is a whole topic in and of itself. So any thoughts or, what are you guys up to?
We've started, but we're thinking of, doing it throughout school since we live right in the middle of a marginalized community. So we was thinking of, getting our actual survey results throughout school. So creating a survey on Google Docs and saying, hey, well, how do you feel? And, how does your community affect your mental health? And, getting the results right through our school because we live around and we go to school with these students who struggle with mental health every day.
Right. So you're doing a lot of primary research. Great. Anybody else? Primary, secondary?
So our group, go on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Our group does do a lot of surveys right now because the product that we are designing relies on approval and interest from consumers. So what we basically, we take our surveys, we made a survey, we got it out on Google surveys, we printed it out, got QR codes for that, and put those on airports because our product pertains to aviators. And
Okay.
we get every now and again a couple of survey entries from aviators displaying interest in our product. So
Can I ask you a quick question? So again, one of the important things on the survey is, who's your target? It sounds like you're working on aviation. So how are you deciding where to put those or those keywords?
Right now it's down to availability. Our product pertains to most aircraft. So we can put it within any of the offices at airports, but we also need to be allowed to, and because some belong to private clubs, we just don't have access to that. So we're taking what we can get for the time being on that.
Okay, great. I think the other team wanted to talk. I'm sorry, I don't have all the names down yet, but I'm bad with names, so.
So far we've done the secondary research, but we also want to incorporate the primary research within our school. So we're going to start creating surveys to ask the students, but also incorporate the parents because of since we wanted to reach a wider amount of audience. And that way we have a mix of the generations.
Awesome. Oh, great.
What about, I want to ask him something real quick. What have you guys done in terms of, and Bruce touched on this a little bit too, it's like studying the size of your market. Like, have you guys, considered the growth potential of your marketplace? Because, that's one of the things that I was going to ask that question later. What are some of the downfalls of not doing adequate market research? And that is potentially, if you go into a market that has radical growth, of course, you can look at those financials and look at those projections in terms financially, how that market is supposed to grow. But the worst thing to do is start and invest so much time in an industry and in a business, and then that market loses steam over the next several years. And so, you have to do your research. And if you guys haven't done that, I just would like to say that I think is also important too, is to make sure that you stay the growth potential and the projections of that marketplace that you're in.
Yeah, and hey, Ronnie, I want to add on that because that's a great example. That's one of the examples I wanted to use tonight. So when I was at Motorola and you know, I became responsible for the accessory group, we had this really great product. It worked off, and again, I'm going to be talking old school for some of the people on this call. Others might remember AOL. You guys remember AOL? Those who do. Those who don't, it was like the online service community thing, right? Like it was kind of like a lot of things. And we had this product that I took over when I joined the accessory group that was like a messaging service on AOL. So you could get on and, you know, type messages to your other AOL friends. So to you guys today, it seems obvious. It's like very big, but back then that was not a service that anybody offered. And AOL was really ahead, and they were working with us at Motorola to create this messenger app. So after a lot of thinking, we decided to give that to another group with, and when I say give it, because like we're either going to shut it down or, you know, give it to another group within Motorola. And I'll give you an example where you have to be careful on market research to what Ronnie's saying is the feedback on people who are using the product was awesome. Off the charts. 9 out of 10, very easy to use, very easy to make messages, whatever. We decided to move it on because we had other priorities that we wanted to invest in. And it ended up being the right decision. In hindsight, it was, you know, at the time it was a very painful decision, but it was the right decision. I'm going to correlate this to you guys making a product, you know, decision. It was the right decision because things were changing, right? Like everything said, all the data, all the research, primary and secondary said it was a great decision. Do you guys know why it wasn't? Anybody have a guess? The younger people might know this, so especially. Anybody want to guess? There's no right or wrong answer, but anybody want to guess? Okay, I'll tell you why. So back in the day, way before you guys, the younger people were growing up, you had to pay for every text message, right? Every text message cost you 99 cents. So people weren't using text messaging. The reason we decided to abandon the product, even though it had great customer feedback, primary and secondary, was because the trend was changing. Carriers were starting to offer text messages for free. So all of a sudden, this beautiful product, great scores, whatever else, was totally, I mean, it disappeared within a year because people switched to their phones and started using their phones to message back and forth. They weren't using AOL. I mean, when I say that, I mean, of course there were some, whatever, but it never grew, right? The product never grew. It just died within a year because people moved from using AOL for messaging to using their their carrier, their, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile to text message each other. So one of the very important things when you're thinking about your research is get multiple points. I think Ronnie was suggesting that, right? You got to get multiple data sets. You can't just trust one, right? And number two, think about not only what the data is telling you, but if you really believe you have, a new idea and things are going to change, be able to explain that, because they may, right? It may be that your primary and secondary research gives you data. And I think if I was a judge on this committee, or, Nick, I'm pretty sure Ronnie, whatever, will tell you, hey, if their like best friend is like using something new, you at least have to be able to answer why that's not a trend, why your competitors, so I'm going to add something else in here, why your competitors aren't addressing that, and maybe that's why you're doing it. So back to my first question, research can't give you the answer, no matter what. I mean, it's impossible to say. Nobody would ever guessed everybody be Googling stuff today when I was growing up, right? I don't remember when I started using Google, but it was far into people starting to use it, right? AI, same thing, right? like nobody can guess when everybody's going to start using AI. So it's like the key thing I think you have to be able to answer for market research is do the market research for sure, because you have to answer. If I ask you guys if I was on the panel and I ask you guys, well, my friend just started using this product, why are you different? You may not be able to answer that exact question because who knows, right? I mean, it may be a random product, whatever. But what you can say is, we didn't analyze that product, but we looked at these other 5 products and we did this research. And here's why we believe our product differentiates itself or is different. Ronnie, please add, because you know you've been judging now for many
No,
years.
I think that's just, no, I think that's you're spot on. I like more feedback from our students. Mike Keys, you guys are you wanna I think, who was it that was talking about they're doing business in the aviation arena?
Did they drop?
That would be my group.
Oh,
Okay, did you guys have any questions or about what Bruce just said? Or any feedback as it relates to your business concept?
that's for Micah, I think, right?
I think it was for Niall. Yeah, there he
Oh,
is.
no, sorry. Hey guys, so
Connection
look,
is not very
you know-
strong out here. I'm doing my best.
oh,
Okay.
no problem. Go ahead. Did you want to answer? Or you bad connection?
I did not hear the question.
Oh, Ronnie, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to see if you had any feedback as to what you just talked about, Bruce, in the market research. As it relates to your business, any concerns about your market, and as it relates to your understanding of where you are in the market research for your business.
So a big part of our business right now is it's very closed. There's not much opportunity for entering. So we need to really offer a product that either does several tasks at once or is just generally considered to be better than what is being offered. And we're struggling to get through it, but we've managed to narrow down some of our competitor styled products. So what you said about the analyzing other companies' products, that's something we do a lot of, but we don't have as much to compete with, but we are on a much different scale in terms of how much we can do to compete with it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And so that,
and I think that's important. Sorry, go ahead, Ronnie. Yeah.
oh yeah. I'm just gonna say this real quick, and in terms of market entry, and we're gonna talk a little. I was gonna talk about it a little bit today, and that is partnerships. But I think I want to save the partnerships because this is so good. I'm loving the market research aspect of it. But partnerships is something we'll talk about in our next workshop. But partnerships is, if you look at the guidelines, we think a lot about partnerships, and that is an excellent way. If you're in a very competitive situation or a very competitive market, and market entry is very challenging, one way to overcome that is to find a partner, and find a partner that maybe has some sort of competitive advantage in the marketplace, that you guys establish some sort of alliance, and you guys can dominate that section of the market. So I mean, I don't know, have you guys thought of, is there any opportunities for alliances? Niall, is your name Niall?
yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any opportunity for business partnerships or joint ventures, or just a letter of partnership?
Do you mean a partner as in within my group, or like
No,
with
outside.
other
Other
companies?
businesses in your industry?
Channel partners, product partnerships.
Less likely, due to if we were to end up getting our company fully established, we would be this ant in this world of giants, but acquisition would be more likely, our company getting absorbed by something else and we would end up working under them that is not the way I'd like it to be, but odds are historically that is how some of these things turn out.
Wow.
So.
That's a whole nother
Yeah, so
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, no, so
Yeah.
Niall, definitely a couple of things to think about as you do your presentation based on what you're saying is, to what Ronnie was saying, are there partners, people you can work with? I'll give you an example if you want, later, but, partnerships, or by the way, again, are things changing, right? Is the market changing that you could somehow leapfrog the incumbents? So you may have a great, again, I don't know your idea or whatever. This is a typical way to be successful as a startup. Can you leapfrog the incumbents? Because they're generally going to be slow to change, right? They have a lot of it could be pricing. It could be, there's many ways that you can change the market dynamics as a startup versus an incumbent, right? Because an incumbent has a lot of challenges to move quickly, right? Because they have a P&L, they have investors, or they're a public company. Like I work for both sides, and you have like expectations. It's hard to switch quickly. And as a startup, if you guys are, by the way, this assuming you guys want to take the startup beyond the competition, if you do, then those are some ideas about how to think, and you can use market research to show, like back to the definition, consumer preferences or needs. Need could be, I need something cheaper, right? Consumers want something cheaper. Or preference could be, I really want a company that can do X, Y, Z. So definitely start thinking in that, when you do your presentation. I guarantee you, Nick, Ronnie, and Damon are going to be interested in that, right? That's going to be a very convincing story about, hey, how am I going to disrupt this market as a startup? Because as you said, you're an ant against giants, right? So how are you going to beat them is a very, very important question. That's why, back to my first question, like how many, you weren't on, I don't think at the time, but how many people think market research is important? It's super important.
Yeah.
It will not give you the answer. Guarantee you guys, you can do as much market research as you want. It'll never be 100% correct, but you have to do it, right? Because if I was an investor, looking to invest in your guys' company, I'm going to ask you questions about your competitors. Where do you differentiate? The marketplace, as Ronnie was talking about, why are you going to win, right?
Yeah. And one of the things I'm going to just, especially again, my mind is still wanting to make sure that the folks that are in the nonprofit industry,
too, yeah,
can
that's
really
different.
also, because what I say to you guys, like the Atlanta teams, you guys are working on something around the mental health industry, and I would advise you to do your homework. There's so much data out there on the need for mental health resources and services in marginalized communities, and be very well versed on that. Do your homework, study that market, and make sure you capture the most compelling data that suggests that marginalized communities are affected by mental health challenges. But and I say that, and even as you write up your business, when you write up your business plan, and make sure you have some charts and some visuals to really show that you have an understanding of the need for the services that you guys are going to provide. And but it's the same concept. Is having an understanding of your market and the services that you're going to provide, and the need for those services, and then partnering with possibly a larger nonprofit that may already have a bigger footprint in that industry, and you can demonstrate how by partnering with them, it's going to help you be able to attract more candidates that you can offer your services to.
Right. And the only thing I would add to what you're saying, Ronnie, is definitely do that, but you have to have a plan without you know what I mean? Like, you can't count on getting the partnerships unless you already have. If you have them, for sure, right? You got to blow that
Yeah.
out. But you don't. You have to have what are you going to do otherwise, right? Because again, I think I guess, look, there's a lot we could talk about this. We could talk for 3 hours, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, don't count on one data source. Make sure your data sources aren't biased. And by the way, they're accurate. Because a lot of people just go on the internet and Google something. And if it's not from a legitimate resource, it could be totally unfactual. And if I was an investor, I would not invest in, if you told me, oh, this is my source, and, because I'll ask you, it would be like, no way, everybody knows they're terrible. And make sure as much as you can to do some primary research. I mean,
Yeah.
in your customer segment. I think somebody early on, by the way, one of the most important things about research is, what are you trying to answer? And don't be biased about it, right? So if I'm trying to create a survey and I ask you guys, well, you talk to all these businesses, what did you ask them? That's another question I'd ask you. If you're like, well, 99% want this, I'd ask you, like, well, what did you ask them? If you're trying to get them to answer the way you want them to answer, right? If your questions are very kind of directed, like, I'll give you an example in politics. Do you want to raise taxes? Well, no politician's ever going to say they want to raise taxes, right? So you'd easily say, like, no politician will ever raise taxes. Well, of course not, right? Sometimes they have to, whatever. So, like, you have to make sure your questions are not biased, or you're not trying to drive to the answer you want. You want to be independent, because, by the way, if you do market research right, you may pivot your idea. You may actually make adjustment. Hopefully you will, actually, because usually you're not right on your first guess. And what I think as a judge, at least I would be looking for, is, do you really understand your competition? Do you understand the opportunities and the risks to your business plan, right? If you don't understand those 3 questions, then, as an investor, I'd say, like, I'm not going to invest. I'm going to pass, right?
Yeah.
So if you watch Shark Tank a lot, which I'm sure a lot of you guys do, given you're in this competition, the most positive, idea is, you either are selling the product and making lots of money already, they love that, right? Or B, you've asked these questions of people, right? You understand your market, your customer, and you're trying to deal with them. So I'm going to stop right there on this market research, because more importantly, I want to make sure we answer questions you guys have. So any questions or?
Yes, feedback, guys. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
this is where the competition is won. This is where
There's no answer.
you set yourself apart from others. You give the feedback, and we're going to give you the raw answers. Yeah.
Or our opinions, at least, right? But maybe slightly slanted. So
Silmar, what you got?
Right now I'm thinking more of like what you were just mentioning about focusing on our primary research a lot more, and just thinking like thoroughly, like, what type of questions are we going to be asking people, because we want to make sure like they're unbiased and like we're going to get the correct answers, not the correct answers, but like be able to get the answers. But
or they may be the answers you don't want, but that's important, right? Like, if they're the answers you don't want, either A, you have to pivot, or B, the way you ask the question, maybe they're not understanding what you did, or what, so it's never, like I said, you'll never get the answer, but you get a lot of good input. And as an investor, people are going to be trying to understand, like, do you understand the risks and the opportunities? So you could be like, hey, we thought we were going to do this, but based on the feedback, we switched to this. Or we think we're going to do this, but we have to warn you, there's a risk, right? 40% of our, so 60% said yes to this question, 40% said no. And one thing, by the way, very important, especially as a product company, because again, I have a lot of experience in this. you do need to ask about pricing. Not that the research will give you the right answer, right? Because again, people may not know until they see your product and experience, maybe you have a way better, but the biggest mistake I've ever seen a lot of companies make is they have a great idea, but to make money, and this ties in another topic Ronnie will have later on, to make money, they got to charge $400, but people are only willing to pay $100, right? So it's not even close. It's like a massive delta. Then you really, really have to have a special experience for people to want, so you have to ask about pricing because everybody's going to say yes. Everybody's, like if you give them a great idea, they're going to love it. They're going to say yes, but will they pay for it given what you have to charge? That's a very, very important question.
Yeah.
For every team, even the non-for-profits, frankly, right? So if you're a non-for-profit and you're expecting to raise $5 million, but people really only give 10,000, so you get $200,000, then you just have to understand, I mean, being involved in nonprofits, I can tell you that's also important to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, touch on that on the nonprofits as well, is fundraising mechanisms. I mean, because people are raising a ton of money on GoFundMe these days, GoFundMe, you know what I mean? Even for profits, if you got a really good business concept out there, put it out there and as a way to raise capital. I see two names. Let me see. There's Alyssa C. and Guillermo. Have you guys introduced yourselves?
No, sorry. I've just joined in, so I haven't really introduced myself.
Yeah, tell us
Go
who
ahead.
you are, what school district, what city?
Somewhere biotech.
Okay, gotcha. So you okay? All right. So you're with that group. Okay, good. And Alyssa, are you with that group as well?
Yes, I'm from Silmar Biotech.
Okay, gotcha. Bruce, you were trying to say something?
Oh, no. So look, we're running out of time here. I just want to, so guys, this is for you. Any other questions we can answer on the market research or why or?
I have a question.
Yes.
So going back to the competitors topic, what do we look specifically when researching our competitors?
Oh, great question. So there's a couple of things that definitely, and are you a service company, non-for-profit, or product company?
So we're non-for-profit.
Okay, so I would look
But they're providing
at,
a service. They're still providing a
right,
service.
so it's,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So I would look at what services the other companies are offering. You can do that online, go in their website, you can maybe call them, ask about the things they're doing. I would look at public data maybe that's available. I know there's a lot of public data around not-for-profits in terms of how much of the money that they raise, do they give to the actual people or charity, right, that they're doing. I would look at things like expense. Oh, by the way, big thing in non-for-profits, especially if you're trying to raise money or get grants, is what's your expense ratio, right? So how much of the money do you raise stays in administration versus going again back to the people that need it? Ronnie, other things? I mean, you might have other.
Yeah, I think for both nonprofit and for profit, one of the things that is also available is the U.S. Department of Commerce puts out a publication every year by industry, and it gives I know, golly, years ago, they were actually charging, you have to pay to access that data. I'm willing to bet that information is probably available now either at no
Or by
charge.
the way, if you call them and say, I'm doing this, startup, and here's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do, they'll probably,
Absolutely. And
help
they
you.
have some amazing, the United States Department of Commerce, they put out some amazing publications by industry, by technology, IT, agriculture, whatever, in whatever industry that you're in. That is an amazing resource, and make sure you do check for that publication. If I can find that, I'll look for it. I'll actually send it out to you guys as well.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Yep, please.
So I got here a little bit late, but to introduce myself, I'm Damar Goodman from the South Atlanta High School team. My question to you is, since we're a nonprofit, is it like gravely important to distinguish what type of nonprofit we are? So I know like the most common is a 501(c), but we've been looking at classifying as a 501(c)(4). So are these sort of differences superficial, or are they very important?
That is an excellent question. That's an excellent question.
I don't know what a 501(c)(4 is.
I know a little bit about them, but I can definitely tell you 501(c)(3 is and I want to hear from you. Why were you looking at other markets?
Yeah.
Other
501(c)(3),
destinations? Yeah. The
it's
advantage,
like-
yeah. The
Then
advantage,
if you have a foundation, whatever, you can donate to, but otherwise, I don't
Exactly.
know I don't think I can donate to a 501.
yeah. So you have to look at that and be prepared, because 501(c)(3s are considered public charities. And 501(c)(3 in terms of being able to get donations from individuals, and that's really what 90% of donations actually come from individuals. And in order to really be able to raise money from public sector, private sectors, you want to be 501(c)(3 because number one, the deductibility.
Right. That's the most important thing, for sure.
People that give you money, they'll be able to write it off on their taxes. If you're a private foundation, not so much. And private foundation is to me, you never want to be private. You never want to be a private foundation. But I know that about 501(c)(3. I've heard of different people talk about starting 501(c)(4s, but I do know that 501(c)(4 doesn't have the same deductibility that you would get in a 501(c)(3). Have you guys done any research on the differences between a C3 and a C4?
Yes, we have actually, and the 501(c)(4 major differences that led us to maybe consider classifying ourselves as that is because 501(c)(4s are classified as social welfare organizations. So we thought that would really fit the scope of our business as a social welfare organization. Additionally, we were thinking about getting endorsements from certain political figures as well. So, and that's important to be classified as a 501(c)(4 because there's kind of like no drawback to that, and the 501(c)(4s are explicitly legally authorized to do that.
Gotcha. Okay, let me tell you. So what you have to do is weigh the two, because you're right. 501(c)(3s have a lot of restrictions on political involvement. The IRS really frowns on that. And so you really got to be able to try to weigh the two. I think, if you're 501(c)(3, alliance with the political arena, to me is I don't really, you gotta weigh what the advantages of that is, because you really don't want to take away the attractiveness of the deductibility. Like if someone writes you a check or you get a grant, and if you look at most private foundations out in the industry, they have a requirement that you have to be 501c3 or they're not going to give you a donation or they're not going to give you a grant. So I think, you know, just off of the surface, and I really think 501c4 is going to offer you more limitations in terms of your ability to raise money.
But I do think it's a great question back to our thing. So if your target market is, you know, political fundraising, whatever else, maybe it's the right thing, right? So understand your target, you know, that should be part of your presentation. Because I would agree with Ronnie. I mean, at the surface, I'd say, look, I give money to charities, I can only do it to 501(c)(3)s. Because, you know, I have a certain setup for giving money from that group. I can only do that, right? So, but again, if that's not your target, if I'm not your target market, then great. You know, maybe you have, you know, so if you're not 501c3, which I think is the more common way people do non-for-profits, if you're not that, just make sure you can explain why. And then again, understand the needs and preferences of those customers, right? The people are doing that to be able to explain it. So.
And especially if you guys, because it sounds like you guys are more than just conceptual. I mean, it sounds like you guys really want to get out there and do this thing. So you definitely don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're restricting your ability. In my opinion, I would say stick with the 501c3. You can still go to the politicians and they can still direct you towards funding. And, you know, because they have a lot of juice when it comes to federal agencies and when it comes to local agencies, they can still get money to you. And to me, that's a better use of a politician than than anything else, you know, but the 501c3 definitely is it's the industry standard.
But I think, Ronnie, given our topic for this call, it's a great question. You know, like if you're going to do the 4, be able to prove why. Right? Like, hey, here's why it's better.
And I
right?
think it's an amazing question. Let me tell you, it really is. And I think it will be impressive to the judges is if you build that in your presentation and you say, hey, you know, we considered several different legal structures for our company. We've
talked to people, donors.
We've considered 501c3. Here's why we decided because of the 501c3 designation, we're going to be able to meet our revenue targets, you know, because of the attractiveness to donors. You know what I mean? So you get one pathway, 501c4, you might have a graph that say 501c4, this is what you think your projections would be versus 501c3. And I'm willing to bet you're going to raise a heck of a lot more money with a 501c3.
But do the research, right?
But do the research.
That's a perfect question to answer. Why do market research, right?
Yeah, do the research.
Yeah. Okay, good. Hey, I'm running out of time, guys.
We're done.
A, I want to make sure I answer any other questions around market research. B, is there any value talking about IP or?
You can take a minute if you can do it real quick.
Sure.
So remember,
you guys can look at my LinkedIn pro. I have lots of experience around doing patents. I'm a big believer in them. By the way, I want to be very open and clear. There's a lot of people that think patents aren't worth it. In this preface, patents cost money. They cost money to create. They cost money to file with the patent office, and they cost money to enforce. So you can get the patent, but even after you have the patent, even if somebody's stepping all over it, you know, whatever, it costs money. Number 2, frankly, if you get one patent, it's pretty easy to work around, right? Like people can work, I mean, again, I'm just talking generically. Maybe you have something really unique and different, but it's pretty easy to work around. And the third thing I would say is if you're picking between design patents are really, really easy to work around and really easy to violate. So it's better to look at process. They call them process patents, which are like what's the idea? What are you doing with your product, whatever, versus design. Again, not saying design is always bad, but it's easy to work around, right? So when you're talking about patents, it's a whole topic, by the way. There's lots to talk about. but just remember, I believe in them. I personally, like when I went to run the startup type company, Steel Series, we started filing tons of patents. We've won them and they've helped in many ways. But understand that it costs money. It takes time. You can file a patent. It'll take up to 8 years before you get awarded it. Right.
Wow.
So you could have a patent and doing a startup, and a competitor can actually violate your patent during that time. And until you have the patent, you're going to have a hard time fighting them. Right. So the person that mentioned about being the ant, against all the giants, it's really hard because, and that's why when I was at Steel Series, we built a portfolio of patents. That's why we have like 100 now. They have 100 now, is because I knew having one patent is usually pretty hard to defend. They can either work around it or they can challenge it. So, there's a lot of variables to think about. Again, I'm just talking if you're trying to build a company. I would say if you're starting your business, it's at least definitely a topic I would highly encourage you to think about.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find lots of advices that'll tell you guys don't do it. It's a bad idea. It costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
I personally have a different opinion, but it's.
Yeah. And especially the ones that are have engineering based companies. I think, I think Silmar and Niall in San Diego, if you guys have real products, intellectual property is something you definitely want to at least address in your write-up, and that is how you plan to protect. And if you have real products that you guys are moving forward with and planning to go into business and stay in business and become a billionaire, then you definitely want to be protecting your intellectual property.
And I, the only thing, Ronnie, I want to add, and this is why we did it also as at Steel Series, is if you build, again, doing one patent, I mean, again, I don't want to, there's never a right or wrong answer. So I can't say doing one patent's bad. I'll generally say it's a highly risky thing because people can work around it, they can challenge it, and they will, if they have more patents than you, they may say, okay, well, we're not going to sue you as long as you give us rights to your patent, right? So it's a defensive and offensive move. The other thing is you have to, over time, again, don't do it for this competition, please. Over time, well, again, unless you believe totally in this thing, you're going to go all in. Over time, building a portfolio of patents is super, super important. And there's many reasons for that. I'll give you another one is once you get the patent, you can file extensions. So you can start to protect your patent. A, you get approval way faster. It's like 1 to 2 years. B, they can be done much cheaper in terms of cost of filing and whatever else. So look, it's a whole topic. And I would encourage you guys, if you're going to go that path, definitely, start reaching out to people that have done it, whatever, to get their advice, because there is a whole strategy around it. It's very, again, if you want to go down that direction, there's a lot of advantages. I believe in it totally. I'd tell you guys do it and, walk you through whatever. But look, I can tell you there's a lot of investors at the beginning that won't give you value. But once you have it and you're building, I can tell you, we definitely, like when I sold the company that I'm talking about, Steels, like we got a huge premium because of the patents that we had and we're filing. So
it adds financial value to your business.
If they're good and you have their,
So we're right at 8:02. Bruce,
I gotta go.
Bruce, we want to thank you again, man, for your time, man. You're such a amazing, giving individual, and we do value our partnership. Thank you all you guys for dialing in. I'm excited. We had a pretty better attendance, with everybody being on spring break. My whole thing is spring break is a good time to get ahead in this competition. So
yeah, I need to go, but real quick, anybody have one last question? Because I want to make sure we don't, I'm excited for you guys. I hope you do well. Any last questions that we didn't answer?
Yes, I have
thank
one
you for
more.
taking the time. Yeah, go ahead.
So speaking about your company, did you guys have any challenges coming up with ideas or coming up with your competitors' ideas?
No, actually, so that's a great question. It's a longer story, but we had a great patent attorney that I knew from back when I was at Motorola, and he would hold workshops with us. And again, I wouldn't tell you to do this with anybody, but he would hold workshops. We'd bring the team together, all cross-functional team, and he would help direct us. And we would, to your point, by the way, we'd take different perspectives. We'd take our own, like if we were doing patents around what we were doing, we'd look at our competitors. What are they doing? And by the way, to what Ronnie's going to talk about another thing, we'd look at what our partners were probably going to do. And we would actually look at filing patents around what they were going to do, because then we could use it as leverage in the partnership discussions if we had already filed the patent. Again, not had it yet, of course, because it takes time, but just saying like, oh, we'd have part of our presentation being like, oh, we already filed a patent in this area, we'll know in another year or two if it, gets approved. So.
Great. Well, all right, everybody.
Can we ask one more question?
Yeah.
Please, yeah.
I just had a quick question. If your market research definitely says your product's not going to work out, how would you pivot to a new idea?
I would hope that your market research and why it's not going to work out directs you where to pivot to, right? And it doesn't always, right? So I'll give you a good example. A guy I worked with had a company that was going to make MP3 players. Again, maybe before your guys' time, but if it was like the first way to have, like a digital Walkman kind of thing. Again, all these terms are way before your guys' time, but a digital way to carry around your music. He ended up moving into a secure email exchange. Again, not relevant now, but for him, he raised millions of dollars by pivoting from being an MP3 player to doing digital cloud email secure exchange, if that makes sense. So his research didn't tell him to move to that. His research told him stop doing the MP3 player. And then again, he just his investors believed in him, and they're like, look, you can return our, because he offered to return the money to the investors, right? I can give you back what you put in, luckily they were, hadn't spent that much, but they were like, no, come up with another idea. And then he started looking what's out there. And there were some parts of the technology they developed, right? Downloading and uploading very efficiently, secure transaction, and so when he was looking at the marketplace, like, hey, we can do this for email in a very secure way, which wasn't the way email was being done at the time. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
you didn't get again, market research isn't going to probably give you the answer, but it's going to tell you don't do what you're doing. And it may give you hints around what people liked about what you're doing and where maybe you will pivot.
Where you pivot, yeah.
That makes sense. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Or okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great question.
All right, guys. Well, thank you,
All right.
everybody, and I'll see everybody on next Tuesday. So no call tomorrow. Today was tomorrow's call, but you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific Coast time next Tuesday.
Good luck to everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie, if you're a little confused today, the other people from Summer Biotech, they were supposed to be on the meeting. It's just the link got set and they got confused. They were supposed to be in another meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so just because we're all a little confused. So,
So
just,
is it how many people? Is it 4 people on your team or 3?
it's 4 of
Four.
us.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
It's
is you two, the
me.
guy that was just standing in there with you guys?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Alyssa?
No, it's
No.
gonna be Evelyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a list of them are not in this competition?
No, they're in
Oh.
another one.
I thought I didn't recognize their names. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
just wanted to clear it up.
All right. You guys have a good one.
You too.
All
Bye,
right.
Ronnie.